I told you can't trust these. Now Puffy done killed Tupac, man.
Diddy's recent warning to his associates has ignited a massive firestorm across social media. After a clip surfaced showing him firmly instructing his inner circle not to harm 50 Cent under any circumstances, the clip spread quickly, leaving fans confused, suspicious, and deeply divided. Some believe Diddy was genuinely trying to prevent violence and protect someone he has been publicly at odds with for years. Others see the warning as nothing more than a calculated survival move, designed to shield himself from even more controversy at a time when his name is already under intense scrutiny. When you understand the history between these two men, it becomes clear why this single moment carries so much weight. The rivalry between 50 Cent and Diddy is not a short-lived disagreement or a petty social media feud. It is a slow-burning conflict that has been building for nearly 2 decades, fueled by ego, power, business, and deeply rooted mistrust. To understand how things reached this point, you have to rewind back to the 1990s, a time when hip-hop was rapidly evolving and the industry was producing legends at an unmatched pace. During this era, both Diddy and 50 Cent were moving through the same circles. They attended the same industry events, met the same executives, and listened to the same advice about how to turn talent into empires. Diddy was already establishing himself as a powerful figure behind the scenes, while 50 was grinding his way up from the streets with raw hunger and ambition. People around them often believed it was only a matter of time before the two would become a strong creative force together. That belief wasn't entirely wrong, because for a brief moment their paths did align. In the early 2000s, 50 Cent quietly contributed to one of Diddy's major records as a ghostwriter. At the time, this collaboration seemed like the foundation of something bigger. Jennifer Lopez, who was dating Diddy then, reportedly encouraged them to work together more closely. From the outside, it looked like the industry was pushing for unity. But behind closed doors, the dynamic was never comfortable. 50 has consistently said that the relationship was strictly business. There was no friendship, no loyalty, and no trust. He saw Diddy as a businessman first and foremost, someone who understood power and branding better than almost anyone else in the room. According to 50 Cent, that was exactly the problem. He has openly stated that he believed Diddy often took credit for work he didn't fully do himself. For someone like 50, who came from an environment where respect had to be earned and betrayal could cost you your life, this behavior was a major red flag. He didn't want to be around someone he felt could twist narratives or use people as tools to build their own legacy. That early discomfort created distance between them, and over time, that distance turned into resentment. What started as quiet skepticism eventually evolved into something far more aggressive and public. Everything reached a breaking point in 2006 when 50 Cent released a diss track that sent shockwaves through the hip-hop community. In one of the most controversial lines of his career, 50 implied that Diddy knew more than he admitted about the 1997 murder of the notorious B.I.G. This wasn't just a lyrical jab. It was an accusation that crossed an invisible boundary. The industry froze, fans debated endlessly, and media outlets replayed the line over and over again. Diddy immediately denied the implication, but the damage had already been done. Once that idea was planted in the public consciousness, it refused to disappear. From that moment on, the rivalry was no longer about music or competition. It became something darker, heavier, and far more personal. The accusation followed Diddy for years, resurfacing in interviews, podcasts, and online forums. 50 never fully walked it back either. Instead, he leaned into the controversy, allowing speculation to grow while maintaining plausible deniability. For Diddy, this was no longer just beef with another rapper. It was a direct threat to his legacy and reputation. Years later, the conflict took on another dimension when 50 began speaking publicly about issues involving Maze, one of Diddy's closest and most loyal collaborators. According to 50, Diddy had given Maze permission to explore opportunities outside of Bad Boy Records. That opened the door for 50 to attempt to sign Maze to G-Unit. At first, the move seemed like a win-win situation. But as negotiations progressed, 50 claimed Diddy began making demands that felt unreasonable and controlling. In 50's view, Diddy wasn't acting like a mentor or partner. He was acting like someone unwilling to let go of control. 50 has said he believed Diddy viewed Maze as one of the last remaining pillars of his legacy. Letting him leave would symbolize a loss of power, something Diddy was not prepared to accept. The situation fell apart, and the fallout only intensified the bitterness between them. 50 publicly mocked Diddy, criticized the money being demanded, and accused him of holding artists hostage under the guise of loyalty. The situation reinforced everything 50 already believed about Diddy's approach to business. Not long after, 50 escalated things even further by launching an online petition asking Diddy to stop using Biggie's name so heavily in branding and promotion. 50 argued that Biggie's legacy had been transformed into a marketing tool, rather than preserved as an authentic piece of hip-hop history. The move was bold, controversial, and deeply divisive. Some fans agreed, feeling that Biggie's image was being exploited. Others saw it as another attempt by 50 to provoke Diddy and stay relevant through controversy. Regardless of public opinion, one thing was undeniable: 50 Cent was not backing down. The rivalry continued to generate viral moments, including a radio interview where 50 compared Diddy to someone who drains the energy from everyone around him. The comparison spread rapidly, sparking outrage, laughter, and endless debate. Diddy responded by once again denying all allegations, including long-standing rumors tying him to Tupac Shakur's 1996 murder. His stance remained consistent. He wanted no association with conspiracy theories or violent narratives. Yet despite his denials, the rumors persisted, and the tension between the two men never truly faded. As the years went on, the beef expanded beyond music and entered the world of business, specifically the liquor industry. In 2007, Diddy became the face of Croc Vodka, a partnership that helped turn the brand into a household name. The deal lasted until 2024, when legal disputes brought the relationship to an end. Meanwhile, 50 Cent partnered with Effin' Vodka, eventually selling his shares for a massive profit. Even after cashing out, 50 continued to mock Croc, claiming it wasn't real vodka and joking that it caused headaches due to high sugar content. He constantly praised Effin' as cleaner and better made. The shots were petty but perfectly aligned with 50's public persona. However, among all the insults and public clashes, one moment stands out as deeply personal. 50 has said there was a specific interaction that permanently changed how he viewed Diddy. According to 50, Diddy once told him that he wanted to take him shopping. The comment caught him completely off guard. 50 later said he looked at Diddy in disbelief, questioning what he had just heard. To him, the comment felt strange, uncomfortable, and completely inappropriate. From that moment on, he decided to keep even more distance. Whether misunderstood or not, that interaction solidified his distrust. Now, in the present day, Diddy's warning to his associates takes on a whole new meaning. Is he genuinely trying to keep the peace, or is he simply protecting himself? With multiple controversies surrounding his name, any harm coming to 50 Cent would instantly place suspicion on Diddy, regardless of evidence. From that perspective, the warning seems less like concern and more like self-preservation, a way to ensure that no situation spirals out of control and creates consequences he cannot escape. At the same time, Diddy may understand how dangerous and unnecessary this feud has become. Hip-hop history is filled with rivalries that ended in tragedy. Perhaps this warning is his attempt to ensure that this story does not follow the same path. The rivalry between 50 Cent and Diddy is not just about diss tracks, interviews, or business competition. It's about power, legacy, control, and the inability of two dominant personalities or truly to trust one another. And as long as both men continue to speak openly and command influence, this story remains unfinished. What makes this rivalry even more fascinating is how both men represent completely different philosophies of success in hip-hop. Diddy built his empire through branding, partnerships, and positioning himself as the ultimate mogul, often standing behind the scenes while others performed in the spotlight. His power came from influence, access, and control. 50 Cent, on the other hand, built his legacy through survival, authenticity, and confrontation. He never shied away from conflict and often embraced it as fuel. Where Diddy preferred smooth diplomacy and corporate relationships, 50 thrived on directness, controversy, and public dominance. These opposing mindsets made a true alliance almost impossible from the very beginning. Over the years, fans have noticed that whenever Diddy tried to take the high road publicly, 50 Cent seemed to push even harder. Interviews, social media posts, and subtle jokes were all used as weapons. 50 understood the power of narrative, and he mastered the art of keeping himself relevant by staying unpredictable. Every time the public assumed the beef was over, 50 would revive it with a single comment or post. This constant pressure made it difficult for Diddy to ever fully escape the shadow of the accusations and rumors that followed him. At the same time, it would be unfair to ignore the role of the audience in keeping this feud alive. Hip-hop fans have always been drawn to conflict, especially when it involves powerful figures with long histories. Every viral clip, every resurfaced interview, and every cryptic statement feeds the machine. In many ways, the public became a silent third participant in the rivalry, rewarding tension with attention and clicks. This dynamic ensured that even silence could be interpreted as guilt. and any response could be seen as confirmation. As the industry evolved, both men aged into elder statesmen of hip-hop, but neither fully let go of the past. While younger artists focused on new sounds and platforms, the unresolved tension between 50 and Diddy remained a reminder of an earlier era, when rivalries carried real weight. Their conflict became symbolic of a time when words could damage careers and reputations permanently. That history makes Diddy's recent warning feel less random and more intentional, as if he understands how quickly things can spiral once narratives escape control. There is also the possibility that this moment reflects growth rather than fear. Time changes priorities, and both men have families, legacies, and empires to protect. What once felt like entertainment now carries real consequences. Violence or escalation would not benefit either side. In that context, Diddy's warning could be seen as an acknowledgement that the past has gone far enough. It may not be an apology or an attempt at reconciliation, but rather a boundary drawn to prevent irreversible damage. Ultimately, the story of 50 Cent and Diddy is not about who is right or wrong. It is about how power operates in hip-hop, how egos collide, and how unresolved tension can follow people for decades. Their rivalry shows that success does not erase mistrust and influence does not guarantee peace. Even at the highest level, personal perceptions and past experiences continue to shape behavior. Whether this warning marks the beginning of the end or just another chapter remains to be seen. But one thing is certain: as long as both men remain influential voices, their history will continue to echo through the culture. Another reason this rivalry refuses to fade is because both men symbolize two different eras of hip-hop power that often clash rather than coexist. Diddy emerged at a time when artists were learning how to turn music into corporations, where influence mattered just as much as talent. He mastered the art of reinvention, shifting from producer to executive to brand ambassador, always staying one step ahead of industry trends. 50 Cent, meanwhile, represents the raw transition from street survival to mainstream dominance. His rise was fueled by real-life danger, betrayal, and resilience, making him deeply protective of authenticity. These contrasting origins shaped how each man views loyalty, respect, and control, ensuring that misunderstandings were inevitable. There is also a psychological layer to this feud that often goes unspoken. 50 Cent has always positioned himself as someone who exposes what others hide, whether through humor, sarcasm, or direct confrontation. He built a reputation as a truth-teller who thrives on making powerful people uncomfortable. Diddy, on the other hand, built his success by carefully managing perception and maintaining an aura of control. When those two energies collide, conflict becomes unavoidable. To 50, silence can look like deception. To Diddy, confrontation can look like chaos. That difference alone explains why neither ever truly understood the other. Social media has only amplified this dynamic. In earlier years, beefs were limited to records, interviews, and magazine headlines. Today, every comment, screenshot, and reaction is instantly preserved and dissected. 50 has used this environment to his advantage, often turning serious issues into viral moments through humor and provocation. Diddy, who comes from a more controlled media era, has often appeared more cautious in response. That contrast has made 50 seem fearless and Diddy seem defensive, even when the reality may be far more complex. It's also important to recognize how much legacy weighs on both men. At this stage in their lives, neither is fighting for relevance, but both are fighting for how history will remember them. Diddy's legacy is tied to shaping careers, building brands, and defining an era of commercial hip-hop. 50's legacy is rooted in resilience, dominance, and independence. Any narrative that threatens those images is taken seriously. This is why accusations, even indirect ones, continue to sting long after the music stops. When viewed through this lens, Diddy's warning feels less like an isolated moment and more like a strategic acknowledgement of reality. He understands that perception can become truth if left unchecked. By clearly stating that no harm should come to 50 Cent, he draws a public line that protects not only 50 but himself as well. It's a statement that says whatever the past holds, it should not define the future in a destructive way. At the same time, this moment does not erase years of tension, nor does it signal friendship. Some conflicts do not end with apologies or reconciliation. They simply evolve into mutual distance and unspoken boundaries. This may be where the relationship between 50 Cent and Diddy now exists. Not as allies, not as friends, but as two powerful figures who understand the cost of letting old grudges spiral out of control. In the end, the reason this story continues to captivate audiences is because it reflects something universal. It shows how unresolved tension, when combined with power and influence, can linger for decades. It reminds us that success does not guarantee clarity and time does not always heal. Whether this warning marks closure or simply another pause in a long-running saga, the rivalry between 50 Cent and Diddy remains one of hip-hop's most complex and enduring narratives.